So you need to know what the best pre-workout that you could be taking is to give you the best chance of success inside the gym. Most of the time, when people are talking about pre-workout, they're talking about a few things, right? They're talking about a substance in powder form they're going to dump into a vat of liquid, and they're going to start ripping and running in the gym with overwhelming energy and be pushing heavy weights and feel hyped up on Mountain Dew, as some would say. But the reason why this is maybe not the best way to go is because all that you're doing is injecting yourself, right? Essentially injecting yourself with a shite ton of caffeine and niacin, and a few other things, right? And probably something that's riddled with BCAAs to give yourself the energy that you think that you need to go into the gym. But the majority of the time, when you're having something that's so high in caffeine, that's like outside of normal ranges for you to even consume in a day, you're consuming it in a 2-minute or 5-minute or 20-minute window before you go into the gym, what you're having is just something that is equivalent to what espresso is, right? Espresso, not espresso, for all of you that don't know how to say that word. I too have trouble with words sometimes. But the reason why we're even talking about this is because people think that you need, and don't get me wrong, I have behind you over there on my shelf, I have a ton of pre-workout from Prestige Labs. Now, I like it. It's stem-free. There's no caffeine in it, what have you. This is not a promo for Prestige Labs, but I like to have that in case I want it, right? But if I was to say, hey, strip away everything, you don't have a lot of money, you're in a position where you need something quick, fast and dirty, you're out and about, you're driving past gas stations, you're in the you're in the grocery store, right? You're at work, you're leaving work, what have you. You don't need to have a powdered form of pre-workout. What you really need to do is just look at carbs and carb sources like fruit. And in my world, that carb source that I would be eating prior to going to the gym, I mean, you could have rice, right? You could have other things, right? But unless you have an allergic reaction to bananas, or you have a problem with the texture, like some people do, my recommendation is that you switch away from your highly caffeinated pre-workout that's usually between 200 and 600 milligrams of caffeine, right? So it's usually between 200 and 600. And what's interesting is if you look at like Black Rifle, their coffee, their espresso, that has legitimately 300 milligrams of caffeine, okay? And that is pretty ridiculous to be drinking in one sitting. But most pre-workouts, you're looking at between, 100 and 400 milligrams. And just for like on average, like regular burnt ass coffee out of your Keurig, you might be, and I could be off by this, but you might be somewhere here, like 25 to 60 milligrams of caffeine. Now, is caffeine going to be something that you shouldn't take if you want to? Absolutely not. But I would say that you don't just smack caffeine to the level that you think you need to go into the gym, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to get more out of your workouts. To get more out of your workouts, you need legitimate more energy, right? Or the perception of, okay? And so, like, can you use caffeine as a catalyst to push harder in the gym, to be hyped up on Mountain Dew, to be motivated? You absolutely can. If I had it my way, what I'd have is I would come into a place where I have, a carb source, right? And you can look at rice if you want, right? Really, the food that you need to be taking in, pre-workout, to the best of your ability, just needs to be low in fat. So rule of thumb here is that it's low in fat, and then it can be a mix, right? It can be a mix of protein and carbs, right? For me, and you can kind of do whatever you want here, but for me, I like to have between 30 and 50 grams of carbs, if possible, right? Somewhere between 30 to 60 minutes before. Okay? So 30 to 50 grams of carbs, 30 to 60 minutes before. Now, if you think about this, that could be like 2 bananas. That could be some blueberries and some strawberries. That could be a ton of different things. So I know a lot of people freak out about, oh, what about the sugar content of everything? And like, let's go low sugar, no sugar, anti-sugar, everything. I hear you, but at the end of the day, if we're looking at a carb source, and this could be rice, right? Something that's low in fat, that's moderate in protein, if you're going to incorporate protein, or it is higher carb, right? To make sure that you don't slow your ass down in the gym, because what we're trying to do is give you the energy, give you the feeling, give you the perception that you can push harder, that you are ready, rested, ready to rock and roll inside the gym. And so it doesn't mean that you need to take caffeine out. And in fact, if you slept like shit, you haven't been recovering hard or recovering well, and you're behind on work, you're stressed in relationship, what have you, like, I'm not going to tell you, medically that you need to take caffeine. And I would actually say that in a lot of ways that increases anxiety for a ton of people. So, you got to understand your own body. You got to have an understanding of how you react to things. But in my world, I would go here first, right? Whole food sources, right? I really like bananas for this. 2 bananas prior to working out. Beautiful, right? Making sure you're also hydrated, because if you're not hydrated, none of this is going to mean anything, because you're not going to be able to move. But I would try to go 30 to 50 grams of carbs, 30 to 60 minutes before workout. And, everyone has a different breakdown of how they would do this, but that will be number one, right? Best case scenario, you're there, and potentially, right? Best case scenario, you have the 2 of these, right? And this is supposed to be a plus sign, right? So you have both of these. Now, do you need 600 milligrams of caffeine? No, the hell you don't. Do you need 300 milligrams of caffeine? No, the hell you don't. You can dose appropriately for where you're at, up and down. You also don't need something like Prestige Labs or Legion or Thorne or someone else that has caffeine inside of the pre-workout. If you could find a stim-free, stimulant-free, meaning no caffeine, right, inside of a pre-workout, I would get that. If you want something to be able to throw in water with your creatine or something else that you're taking to put down the hatch, it's not necessarily going to be something that hurts you, right? But I don't want you to think also that like, hey, I can't get a workout if I don't have, synthesized, ultra processed pre-workout out of a tub from my favorite influencer. Like, you don't need that. Now, will it make the whole experience a little bit better? And can you stack supplements on top of each other, on top of everything else that you're doing, and get better results? You bet your ass you can, because psychologically you start to move closer to the person that you would be if you were doing everything that you need to be doing for your goals. But is it necessary for you to hit gains? No. Do you need to take something like early bird in the morning to have energy for the day? No, you don't. I mean, fundamentally, base core necessities, you got sleep, you got hydration, you've got nutrition, right? You've got mobilization, right? You've got stretching, you've got rest days, you've got overall steps, and the list goes on and on. But the core fundamentals, those are way more important than smacking pre-workout. But if you're in a bind, if you're in a pinch, if you're in a position where you need a little bit extra of a push because it's been a hard day or something's gone wrong, or you just want something extra, having something with caffeine in it, not going to hurt you. Also, right, not medical advice, but also you don't have to spend $200 on supplements with caffeine in it. You can literally go to Publix, right? And you can buy Caffeine and Hydration, right? Which is just caffeine without water, right? Because technically caffeine and hydration, I think it's either anhydrous or anhydrous, regardless. So this is literally just pulling the caffeine out of the beans, and you're good there. You can buy literally tablets at any of your local CVS or Publix or Walmart or Kroger or anything like that. And you can buy that for like literally $7 for, I think, like 20 to 30 tabs. And two of them, I think, are maybe somewhere between 200 to 400 ml. I think they're 100 a piece or maybe 50 a piece, 50 milligrams. So like you could have your 2 cups of coffee, right? You'd have your 2 cups of coffee or your pre-workout equivalent for literally, right? Divide 20 by $7. Well, $7. Forget the math. It's $7 for 20, right? So think about each of those 20 is just going to be a small fraction of the overall $7. So like this will stretch you a ton, right? In a way that maybe some pre-workout with 15 servings in it won't. Doesn't mean that the pre-workout that's from Legion, Prestige Labs, Thorne, or anywhere else, BPN, Jocko, etc., is bad, but it shouldn't be the only thing that's leaned on, right? And it should be something that you utilize to your advantage, not something that you necessarily depend on. It can give you a boost just like coffee can, but also caffeine doesn't do too much to you outside of just give you the perception that you're baseline if you take it every single day, right? You feel the same, especially me. I feel the same because I drink it every day. If you want caffeine to be able to do more for you, you got to kind of work back the amount of times that you're using it. So all in all, pre-workout, absolutely important to get the most out of your exercises, get the most out of your gym sessions, get the most out of what you're doing in the gym, cardiovascularly or strength training. Now, in Energy Source, like I'm saying, whole foods, a carb source from Whole Foods, superior to everything. But that plus having some pre-workout with some caffeine to help you get through it, not going to hurt. Anecdotally, I like to do both, right? You can choose one or the other. All that I want to make sure that does happen is that you're not in a position where you think that you have to have this, right, to get a good workout. Okay? You do not have to have that much caffeine to get a good workout. And in fact, if you depend on that, you're going to be more times than not unmotivated and not willing to go to the gym. All in all, find something that works for you and understand that a lot of pre-workouts are kind of full of shit. And so check the back, check, what's third-party tested, right? Look at all of those things if you're going to get something that's from a company. Otherwise, just keep it simply stupid and walk into your grocery store and go grab 2 bananas and let's rock and roll from there. It's very easy, but having something that you do for pre-workout, right, to have energy or to have the perception that you have more energy so that you can push harder in your workouts is necessary unless you want to be working out 5-7 days a week, right? We want to get the most effective exercise that we can in the shortest amount of time because you don't live for fitness. If you did, you'd be on the other side of the camera talking about this. So look, not scientific advice, not medical advice, but I would say that you find something that makes sense for you on the pre-workout that allows you to get there. Maybe that's something to synthesize, maybe that's bananas, maybe it's a combination of both. Totally up to you. Just want you to have the information, make the best decision for yourself, and I hope you'll kill it.